Good morning and welcome. My name is Tanya and I would like to thank you all for taking the time to attend Dave's service here today. We gather here this morning to say a final farewell to a wonderful, caring man who has been lost to us, David John Simpson, aged 82 years. As you know, Dave wasn't one to make a fuss, and it's my privilege to play a small part in honouring him by conducting this service here today. All our hearts reach out today to Dave's loving family. Dave was a loving husband to Nolene and a much-loved father, father-in-law, grandfather and mate to many. Dave was treasured and respected by his family and friends throughout his life and will be missed by all. Today is a day to remember Dave and to allow your sorrow and sadness to surface and be expressed in words, tears and reflection, or in whatever way is meaningful to each of you. The memories that you share today bring us together to reminisce on the times each of you spent with Dave. Dave loved his family dearly and treasured the wonderful times he shared with Nolene and their children and grandchildren. In all of the hectic schedule of his life, Dave's time for his family was of paramount importance, and his love and his mateship helped all to grow. Dave really was a true country to coast icon. He loved his farm at Blackslands Creek with his Black Angus cows, and where he was often seen pulling fireweed out from horseback, to surfing the local beaches, and more recent, living on the Clarence River. His strongest characteristics were his sense of humour. Dave was a real larrikin. Dave's family have described him as a rocky road, rough on the outside but soft on the inside. He was a caring man who loved his family unconditionally. Dave was a man's man until he got to know you. He was never afraid to get his hands dirty, and he was a hard worker who was always there to lend a hand if anyone needed it. His passions were surfing, hockey and motorsports. He was a modest and very humble man. Dave has lived a simple, honourable life. Dave has been blessed with a wonderful family and good friends. It is important that during this sadness that we remember his warmth and the kindness that radiated from him. The joy of friendship and family which dominated his life will live forever in the lives of his loved ones. I ask you to not be afraid to grieve for Dave, for grief is an expression of love. Think about him, talk about him, and treasure your memories of him. Heal in your own way and in your own time. The experience of grief can be overwhelming, although something more powerful than that is your own ability to help yourself heal. I ask that you please feel free to be at one with your sorrow, your sadness, your grief and your memories. But also, I ask you to feel the gladness, the happiness, the purpose and the serenity of a life so well lived. I am sure that Dave would not want to grieve in hurt or pain, but think of the joy that he has given, that he has received and that he has shared. I thank you all for your presence here today, united in strength and love, to remember a life well lived. Be grateful that Dave was part of your lives and let his influence, his character, his warmth and his deeds live on. I'd like to share a quote with you all from an unknown author. Although it's difficult today to see beyond the sorrow, may looking back in memory help comfort you tomorrow. This quote tells us whenever people who love disappear from our lives, our only option is to seek comfort in the memories of our time together and to be grateful for all the good things that happened. It's difficult to move past the pain, but memories keep our hearts warm forever. I'd now like to ask Craig to come forward to read the eulogy.
David John Simpson, father, husband, grandfather, brother, uncle, father-in-law, lifelong mate, friend. Dad was many things to many people. However, I'm sure all people would describe him as hardworking, kind, a larrikin. As I'm standing up here today, I realise how fortunate I was to have him as my father. It's not easy to find the words that express his influence in my life. It is through his example that I've learned to be the father and husband I am today. Dad was born in the city, but there can be no doubt that he was always a country boy at heart. Growing up in Sydney, he would head out to visit Uncle Harold and Auntie Lou's farm in Tamworth for the school holidays. I'm told one of his favourite pastimes while out there was to catch field mice and bring them inside just to freak Auntie Lou out. That sounds exactly like the man I knew. Early adulthood, Dave spent a lot of time on his other passion, surfing. The trips away to Sawtell and the island were stuff of legends. The guys and girls that were on these trips remained part of Dad's life all the way through. Israel and I always were told tales of adventures had by Hully, Clarkey, Bonesy and Loz over those times. In 1977, Dave and Noel made the huge decision to move up from the big smoke to the farm. I can't imagine how hard it was for Mum and Dad to pack up their lives and start afresh in a brand new environment with two young boys afoot. The locals were a little standoffish at first of the city slicker who wore a shoelace around his head. I believe the word yowie was used to describe the new guy. It didn't take Dad long to win them over with his exceptional work ethic and sense of humour. History has proven that the move was a great decision and I loved growing up on the farm. I may not have been the greatest helper around the farm, but Dad was always there to keep pushing. When I'm struggling to do the most basic round-the-house tasks nowadays, I can't help but wish I paid that little bit closer attention to what Dad was doing. In my eyes, there never seemed to be anything he couldn't do. Growing up on the farm provided plenty of life lessons as well. I can tell you with all the dramas that have been happening around the country with toilet paper shortages, I was never worried. One of the first things Dad taught me was that there was nothing toilet paper could do that wild tobacco leaves couldn't. And there is always plenty of that to be had. Dave loved the farm and he's put his heart and soul into that place, but that's how he approached everything, at full throttle. Whether it was on the job site, digging thistles, bowling leggies in the tennis court, or catching the waves at Walleye, he was always at 100%. I'm still in awe when I think back to how hard a worker Dad was, and I would need to lie down just thinking about doing a day's work like Dave. I think he put almost as much energy into making people laugh as everything else. He was the king of the one-liners and pranks. He always had a razor-sharp wit and would do anything to make others laugh. Exactly that way now. But I've been amazed by Mum's strength over the past week and her ability to focus on the amazing life she shared with Dad and not dwell on what was lost. Finally, I would just like to say thanks, Dad. Thanks for the man you were and the man you helped me become. Thanks for the memories and thanks for all you've done for me. You will forever be missed and always remembered. Love always, Critter.
Thank you for those beautiful words. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward and say a few words? We're now going to listen to Chloe play the piano, and she's going to play Jazzin' Around for us. beautiful. Georgia is now going to come forward and read the poem Dust by Bill Kearns for us.
Dust. From ashes back to ashes, and from dust back to dust. It's everybody's path of life, and travel it we must. And though they differ widely from obscurity to fame, the starting and the ending of each pathway is the same. And when we reach our journey's end, whenever that may be, our body will at last be still, our spirit will be free. To fly, to soar, to journey, to just where we do not know. But when the chain is broken, then the spirit's free to go. No matter where the spirit goes, this body will remain. Those links between the flesh and dust, no one can break that chain. And though the earth reclaims its own, or though the fire burns, it's from the dust all flesh comes forth and to the dust returns. So while our spirit wings its way to its eternity, the husk discarded also moves to immortality. For from the dust and ashes come the beauty of this world, the wonder of a blade of grass, a petal new unfurled. And as the ashes and the dust give life to grasses green, our earthly life lives on, where nature's wonders can be seen. The beauty of a perfect rose, the grandeur of a tree, they are creatures of that dust that ever calls to you and me. For when the Master took this dust and touched it with his breath, this life was ours to live until the moment of our death. But when that wind of life has flown from all the mould and rust, the story of our passage will be written in the dust.
Thank you. You did Bill proud. And for those of you that don't know the connection, Bill's sister Elaine is actually really good friends with Nolene. So that was a beautiful poem selected for the service. We're now going to listen to a piece of music, Unforgettable by Nat King Cole. Please take this time to think about the times that you spent with Dave.
Unforgettable, that's what you are. Unforgettable, though near or far, like a song of love that clings to me. How the thought of you does things to me, never before has someone been there. Unforgettable in every way, and forevermore. That's how you stay. think it's incredible that someone so unforgettable thinks that I'm unforgettable too.
It's time for us to say goodbye to Dave. Sometimes on our journey through life, we meet people who leave footprints on our mind. They challenge us to see things differently and to question our personal reality. Sometimes on our journey through life, we meet people who leave footprints on our heart. They create a safe place for us to open our hearts to feel loved and special. Then sometimes on our journey through life, we meet people who leave footprints on our souls. They share themselves with us so profoundly that they touch the very essence of who we are in that secret, quiet place. Dave has left gentle footprints on the minds, hearts and souls of many of you here today. May we always remember the beauty of his love, his kindness and the sacred way he touched our lives. Tenderly and reverently, we commit Dave's body to the flames. All his life has meant to us. We are glad Dave lived. We are glad we saw his face and felt the pressure of his hand. We cherish the memories of his words, his deeds and his character. We cherish his friendship. And most of all, we cherish his love. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, in the cycle of life and death, the earth is replenished and life is eternally renewed. Go in peace, Dave. We now leave the memory of our beloved Dave in peace. With enduring love and respect, we bid him farewell and promise him to have a devotion to things worthwhile and make our living of real and meaningful value. May you find richness and example in your memories of Dave. May you find strength and support in your love for one another. And may you find peace in your hearts. Thank you. That concludes our service here today. But please take as long as you need to say your goodbyes to Dave. Thank you.
When I was a lad, over hills and meadows and streams, just a boy and had his dog. We were both. We grew up together. I remember the time at the old swimming hole when I, without a ground, beaten down. But old Shell was right there to the rescue. He jumped in and helped me out. As the years fast